Welcome to My Home HQ podcast with Ray Fletcher. Leading the way in buying and selling homes, knowing the current housing market, updating your home without an extensive remodel, or how to stage your home for the perfect sale and more. Portland, Oregon real estate agent Ray Fletcher will bring his 20-plus years experience of real estate, home ownership, and selling homes to you in his bi-monthly podcast. This podcast will be your home headquarters for strategies to achieve success in your real estate investments. Now your host of the podcast, Terry Fletcher.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the My Home HQ podcast with Ray Fletcher. Ray is our resident home and real estate expert located in Portland, Oregon, and he's here today to chat with me with all things real estate, and I'm your host, Terry Fletcher. Hey, Ray.
How's it going?
It's going good. I'm loving June. I'm loving the warmer weather now. We always whine when it's too hot and whine when it's too cold. Well, I think right now it's just right. So I'm Goldilocks. So that's where we're at.
We are kind of in the same boat. It's just stopped raining today. Yesterday it rained, day before. And so, yeah, we are looking forward to it as well.
Well, that's good. So now that we're in the thick of summer, I would think that even though I've seen the reports that the housing market has slowed quite a bit,
yes.
I'm thinking that has probably to do with interest rates and some of the funky things this government's doing with attaching, certain penalties or stuff to mortgage papers and stuff. But is there anything else you see that's kind of contributed to that?
The rates are a big deal. Previously, it was slowing down because of graduation. This finally felt like a real graduation post-pandemic. Everybody got to go outside, go to a facility, didn't need tickets. And so that made a really big difference. And there was no restrictions whatsoever on how many families can go, what they could do here locally. My daughter's high school, they had it at the Memorial Coliseum. So it was kind of a free-for-all. And that really slowed it down to where I was hearing like nobody showed to open houses. I mean, everybody was just focused on graduation and
weddings. I'm thinking too.
Yeah, weddings are probably now back as well. So I'm sure those bookings are good. Personally, Lynn and I went to a winery not too long ago, last Friday actually, and it was busy out there. So yeah, the real estate market has definitely slowed. The rates are a big factor. Qualifying for the loans, it's still a thing. You need your down payment, good credit. Now, we are seeing a lot of mortgage brokers offering incentives, but my experience with those incentives, you got to look at every single one. And traditionally, they always find a loophole where you don't qualify for that incentive. So they're out there, but you got to really dig and make sure you're on top of every aspect of the process.
It almost sounds like those ticker tape things you see when they try to get you to buy something online when you're doing your work, and all of a sudden an ad pops up and it says, "Oh, but if you put in this coupon code," and then you find out that doesn't apply to what you're buying.
That's exactly right. Yeah,
like it doesn't work. Well, one of the things I've noticed too is that not just with the market slowing and everything, it seems like I'm seeing more what they call for sale by owner versus realtors. Yep. And this reminds me of something, I see in some of the shows I watch where it says, I want to defend myself in court with somebody who has no experience in the legal field. And so now I see it in real estate, and there's got to be some, I guess there's a little bit of pros, but I would think there's more cons if you don't have experience in regulatory situations. I mean, there's got to be a ton of stuff out there. I know we've already talked about things now that we're on our episode 16 that somebody who isn't used to doing this would have a problem with.
Correct. And there's a lot more cons than pros. And the only pro, and it's a technicality on the pro, is commissions. And that's why people feel like they can sell their house themselves. They think that, I can save on 5%, whatever your local realtor is charging, because it varies by state, individual. I mean, there's no set number. And so they're looking at that number. And if you're selling $1 million home, don't get me wrong, that could be a substantial amount of money. But the biggest factor is all the legalities of selling a home and the liabilities, and you're dealing with more than one party. It just goes on and on. So yeah, very much so.
What is one of the biggest cons, I would say, for when you have a for sale by owner that they may not see right away when they just put the sign out in front of their house?
Yeah. So on one aspect is it's the one of the biggest things is when they put that sign up, they're most likely still going to be working with an agent because they're going to get a buyer's agent. I've sold for sale by owner homes and I've represented the buyer and they did pay me a commission. And when we're going through this process, we're using my forms and my escrow agent and all my. And I am dictating the process without representing the sellers. And so it's interesting because the ones that I've sold, I only found those by driving the neighborhood showing other houses. It's not like I found them on Zillow or a major website. So the exposure that the for sale by owner, also known as a FSBO, they're not getting the exposure of 10,000, 13,000 agents in the Portland metro area potentially seeing your home if the criteria matches what they're looking for. And so if all you're getting is drive-bys, yes, you could put it on Zillow, but I'm not looking at Zillow every single day for sale by owners. And I don't look really much at all anymore due to the fact that market, most for sale by owners know. So they're so far and few. It's just not even a search that you can really set up too much.
Well, what happens when somebody does a for sale by owner and then they're not really understanding what it takes to enter into a contract? If they don't have a realtor, how do they find the lenders, the brokers, all that?
Right. So when they're selling it, their focus is just getting their money. And so it's up to, so if, let's say they're doing a for sale by owner and a buyer, like a neighbor or something, calls their other friend and says, hey, this is for sale. And they're going to do it for sale by owner and a purchase by owner. They're going to both combined. Well, now they're both, most likely they're Googling real estate forms. They are doing it all themselves. Somebody most likely has a lender involved. And so that lender is now going to set up escrow, title, and go through that process because you still need certain aspects to close the loan. You need a clear title report, still have to get an appraiser. And now it just put it on the lender. Now the lender's liability just goes through the roof. And now they are becoming kind of a voice of an agent. And most lenders don't want to do that. And they'll try to call us and say, hey, I've got a buyer that would like representation. And then you try to jump in. The seller's like, we're not paying a commission. And if that's the case, I can't put my license on the line. I have fees that I pay for every transaction, and I'm not going to lose money by selling a home. And so some of the pitfalls that could come up is liens on the house that don't come up, past electrical utility, those type of bills, certain surveys on the property and legal portions of the property. Is the fence in the right side? Did they do remodels? Did they do additions? And there's so many different factors that a buyer, it's more a buyer beware of a for sale by owner as far as the purchase process and getting stuck on the for sale on the seller's end. They're just losing money because they're not getting proper exposure for the home.
And they probably don't know all the processes and everything.
No,
So
not at all.
one of the things when you go realtor versus for sale by owner, also
Yeah.
are the for sale by owners, do they have a list of how to market or how to even, get people into the house? Do they hold their own, I almost called it happy hour, open houses?
Open house, yeah. Yeah, no, there's I mean, again, I would assume that what for sale by owners are doing is they'll probably just Google, they'll look on YouTube, somebody's going to get up there and go, you can do this, you should do this, and convince them to do it. They'll probably talk to some friends that will tell them against doing it, and that they have somebody who has done it before, but probably did it way back in the day when we didn't have certain systems, probably before the internet is when for sale by owners were much more prevalent and probably just as fine because we didn't have the exposure that you would get. But now with the amount of exposure and things like that, but for sale by owners, putting a sign in front, they're probably putting their phone number, maybe not the price. They want to talk to people. And it's probably just somebody it's your dad that's selling the house that always thinks if you write an offer on a house, you never go full price. And so probably a lot of old school mentalities is going on through the process. And they know the basics. They know, do your price, hold tight, don't negotiate, hold an open house, and go from there. And that's just not the case. But I mean, the for sale by owner mindset is, this will be easy and I'm going to save $10, $20, $30,000.
Well, yeah, it sounds like they're just trying to get out of some fees too.
That's really all it is for that's I would say that's 99% of the time is they think that it costs too much to sell your house with an agent, and it's proven time and time again that agents get more per dollar or per square foot and per everything than a for sale by owner does. And if anything, it's not only a wash. Let's say you don't get this over asking crazy bidding war on your place, but the liability is now gone. The stress is at least half, because selling your home is still a stressful process. You're still going to get potentially a sale fail. Your inspection's going to come back, and you need somebody to help you negotiate through that. And you're not going to have that. You're going to see this buyer do an inspection. If they do, come back with like there's mold in the attic and the crawl space is wet, and the for sale by owner may be like, okay. And maybe that's not the case. Maybe there isn't mold in the attic. Maybe maybe the nails rusted when they built the home and it had runs down the sheeting, and that's not mold. But I'm only saying that because I've had that exact example. Maybe the crawl space isn't as wet. Maybe there's a dryer vent that's blowing in the crawl space, and it just needs to be just hooked back up. I mean, there's so many things that come into this that we are a second set of eyes and a voice of reason, where that's what we do. So.
And it seems like also the for sale by owners, it seems like it's usually people that, and this is not for the listeners out there, if you've done the for sale by owner or anything, it's not saying it's you, it's just saying what we've seen typically. It seems like there could be something to the effect that usually don't see any upgrades or updates, and it's usually somebody just wanting to get out of their house pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, I mean, again, there's a lot of, those are some of the best listings you can get because you create a real sense of urgency. But sometimes they just throw that up there, and then you just kind of go from there. So again, there's different ways why they're doing it. One other factor that needs to be brought up on a for sale by owner is sometimes they don't have any equity in the home to pay for the commissions. Oh. So that could be a factor. They bought high in the market, and something happened, and now they have to sell high in the market. So with that said, they're thinking, if I can just get somebody to just take it over, not take over payments or anything like that, because those are almost impossible. But if they're like, I bought it for $450, it's only worth $450, they're thinking they can do that. Well, once again, it'd be good to have a realtor involved to figure all that out, because if it's still not worth what you're trying to get, then the realtor can help you with the process of doing a short sale. So there's other avenues you can do based on the situation of why they're doing it for sale by owner.
Okay, cool. So you had 3 things to tell people as far as the pros of having a realtor versus not having one. What would it be?
Number 1 would be exposure, the property exposure. How many people are going to see your home that's for sale? That is absolutely huge. Secondly, would be the liability exposure. When after the sale, if you did it for sale by owner and they come back at you, you're kind of on an island. I mean, of course, if they come back at you, you said some things on your disclosures and all those things, and you lied, well, you're still on an island, but you have the backing if you did it right, to where now you have an agent going, no, this is where it's at. So the liability of exposure. And then third, it's just the whole process. You're not alone doing this. We help with tips on getting the place ready. We hold open houses. We get the showings to where if you can't show your home when you're doing it for sale by owner, then you can't sell it. And with a realtor, we can get it shown. You can get it shown at all times that you make the house available, of course. So it's really just exposure, liability, And then pricing is another factor. We make sure it's a good home that is priced to sell and will sell.
That's awesome. Well, Ray, I think that's a great way to end this today, and it's been a great episode. I hope our listeners will appreciate these real estate tips as well and are readying themselves for that home purchase. So that's all for us this week on My Home HQ podcast. Join us next time when we bring you more topics on real estate, home buying, selling, and investing, and more. Drop us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Audible, Amazon Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. So until next time, this is Terry Fletcher signing off for Ray Fletcher for the My Home HQ podcast.
Thank you for listening to My Home HQ podcast with Ray Fletcher. Drop us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our website and blog at www.rayfletcher.biz or contact Ray directly at realtorrayf@gmail.com to also subscribe to his weekly newsletter.